All right, guys. So with me, I'm so excited. I have my mom and Catherine, and I have Sky. And just as a probably disclaimer, I don't know if this thing records only the person talking, but I guess each person when they talk, they'll just say who they are real quick, just in case, because I don't know, I can't get the settings to work properly. But just in case it records in the stupid way I have a feeling it will, we'll just work with it that way. But anyway, I'm just really excited to be able to do another interview with my mom and Sky. It's been a really long time. It feels like forever. So Sky, what have you been up to lately? Because it seems interesting.
Goodness. Well, it's summer now, right? Obviously, but and I live in the Netherlands, so it's not nearly as hot as it is in the U.S. But I did just get back from the U.S. We went to Hollywood, Los Angeles, Beverly Hills. We stayed in Beverly Hills while we were there, and we went out there for a wedding. And so glad we're back. But other than that, really just kind of, I don't know. Time did go by kind of fast because it doesn't seem that long ago. But it was was it February? Or February or March.
Oh, wow, that's a long time. Yeah, it has been. Whoa.
But other than that, really, I mean, we're talking about possibly coming back to the U.S. We're not sure yet. Right now, 100%. We're not. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why we would miss living there, but we would go to the East Coast. We'd be in Florida probably. But not other than that, really, not much of anything. So.
Yeah, so before we started, you were talking about, well, Mom, go ahead and introduce yourself real quick, and then we'll get started on Hollywood. I forget because I'm trying to operate it how I'm pretty sure it's going to record, and it's frustrating, but okay.
I know. It's like, well, when I first started doing, especially for a conference, I could get everybody, you could do the gallery view, and now all of a sudden it's doing individual views, and I don't like that either. It's quite annoying. But hello, everyone. Those of you who know me, I'm Catherine Michele, and I have a YouTube channel, and I generally cover the David Crowley case. He was a film producer and a writer and a veteran who was murdered in Apple Valley, Minnesota. Although it was deemed a murder-suicide, we know it was a triple homicide, and we're working to push the law enforcement and the legal people to actually clear his name. But I also do flat earth videos and then other videos that just kind of cover all kinds of topics. So, hello.
Which is what today's going to be. Today's going to be all, we do not have a set plan, but, I kind of like that because for me, it's just interesting because you get to cover so many different things. And honestly, what Sky was going to be talking about with Hollywood fits in with a video I actually just did based on music. At least I'm pretty sure. I have a feeling it's going to fit in, and I'm probably going to be pretty excited about that. So, Sky, what was your trip like, and what kind of feelings did you get there? Was it like, you said it pretty much was a negative spiritual experience. Like, what was that for you?
Completely negative spiritual experience. I felt like I was starting to come under a spiritual attack. I've been under a spiritual attack for a long time, but I mean, I felt like it was heavy. I felt real heavy even just, right up until we left, a couple days before we left. I even asked my husband, I said, I don't know if I want to go. I just had that feeling like I didn't really want to go. And I mean, I'm from California. I was born in the San Francisco Bay Area, grew up there. So, but we went ahead and we went. I mean, we'd already paid for our trip and everything. They were expecting us. So, and it was my husband's nephew that got married, and his wife is an attorney in Beverly Hills. So, I mean, it's just, they lived there. That's where they lived. So we went out, and I mean, literally, we just got there, and I could already feel negative spiritual vibes. You could just feel it. My husband could too, which, he's really learning and becoming a Christian, I should say. He wasn't a Christian at all before, we were married. But we both grew up Catholic. We went to Catholic schools and, did the Catholic thing. But he wasn't really any of it, but now he sees it. His eyes are open. He's completely sees what I see as far as this goes. And, anything goes there. anything goes there. And we like to go to like Nordstrom's Cafe. Have you ever been to one of those before? They're, you know, the Nordstrom's department stores. Mm-hmm. They have a cafe, and they have really good food. You know, the Nordstrom's, all the Nordstroms that have a cafe have really good food. So we found one and we went to it, and I mean, this gender crisis thing that's happening right now in the world, it is so sad. But we had somebody who was a boy, obviously, but wanted to be a girl waiting on us. And, you know, you just can feel it. You know, I mean, and I love everybody. I want to help these people. I want them to wake up and to see what's happening, you know, what they're doing, you know. But, I mean, I would say he was probably maybe 19, 18, very young, you know what I mean? But that was everywhere we went. I mean, it was everywhere. It is the devil's stomping ground. I am not kidding. That is how I felt the whole time we were there. And I was very, very glad we came back. We were there for a week. We noticed a lot of our everybody that we know out there, family-wise, has been jabbed multiple times, boosted, whatever, all of it, you know. And we've known these people, some of them their whole life, you know what I mean? And there's differences in personalities. We've noticed not just personality differences, but cognitive differences. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. I mean, like you can sit there and have a conversation with somebody that you know, that you've known for 25 years, and then they'll just look at you like they don't know you anymore. You know what I mean? Or they didn't understand what you said. And this isn't about alcohol. They weren't drinking. You know what I mean? This is just plain conversations at like breakfast or whatever. And so you know, and it's really sad to me because pretty much both of our entire families are in the medical community. You know, they're somehow in, you know what I mean, nurses, doctors, whatever. And they're all, you know, and we're noticing a big difference in that.
Yeah. I told my mom. I called her up after this.
You're echoing, Lindsay.
Here, let me pull it closer. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay.
That's much better.
I called my mom after this had happened, but I made an appointment for my son. Or no, I was double checking an appointment for my son. And you know, they just ask you the typical questions, you know, name, date of birth, that sort of thing. And, you know, and I was like, well, you know, I'm just double checking because I think I have the wrong date written down. and out of nowhere, it was just like, okay, thank you for calling, blah, blah, blah. Have a good day. Bye. Didn't answer my question. Like, I mean, nothing. Like, there was no... Yeah, it was like as if this conversation had taken place when it didn't. Like, it was just like this whole, you know, it was the weirdest thing. And it almost sounded like the phone cut out, but it didn't. It was like super bizarre. Like, and I was just like, and I called back and I ended up having a normal conversation with someone else, but it was just like this switch went off or something. And
right.
It was just bizarre.
It is bizarre. That's how I felt too, like a switch, just like, you're like, did you even hear what I said? Like, I mean, I just talked to you for 5 minutes and you know, you're looking at me like I'm an alien or something. I mean, yeah, there's no doubt there's a difference in the people. And, you know, it's crazy because I mean, I've always been, you know, on the other side of any kind of jab. At all, doesn't matter. And my husband's sister's a nurse. My sister's a nurse, you know. But my husband was like, I'm talking about 20 years ago. He said, like, don't tell my sister that's how you feel, okay? Because they're all for it, you know. And I told him a couple years ago when they started trying to push these, you know. I said, just watch. This people are gonna have problems, bad problems. You know, and he's like, oh my gosh, yeah, I think this has been the lead. I think this has been Satan's plan all along for all these hundreds of years, you know, just to get people used to having this as a normal part of their life, take their children and get it, you know what I mean? Just to.
Well, yeah, I'm actually hated, literally hated by some of my in-laws for not having my kids get any of them. They literally think I have lost my mind, and they literally hate me over it. And yeah, it's like you said, think about the normalcy of it, how normal it is to go do this, and and then you're just a total goofball or whatever if you don't at all, and then let alone this new thing.
It's because it's been priming people for all these years, to believe that it's just normal, that it's just a normal way of life, and that's what you should do. And it is pretty crazy when I think about how many people just stand in line and wait. It's like, really. I mean, I always think about things like lethal injection. I mean, when you live in the United States and certain states have the death penalty, and that's what it is, right? But those two words put together, and people don't think, oh, that's not going to hurt you. What, it's a little shot, whatever. They don't think about that. And that's what I think it is.
Well, and the frustrating thing, from my perspective, is I was an EMT when our soldiers first started going over to the Middle East. So it was Desert Shield, Desert Storm, Gulf War, all of those. And I remember the soldiers coming in and just the amounts that they would get. I kid you not, like 20 cc syringe. It was ridiculous what they were shoving into these soldiers. Most of whom, and then when they started getting sick, the old, it's disinformation, we're going to shut you down, you guys are liars, blah, 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 blah. Well, then come to find out, now they're like, oh, okay, there is such a thing as Gulf War syndrome. Well, now they're admitting it after years, and we're like, well, duh, we've been saying it all along. But it's interesting because I just watched the first season of this show on Amazon Prime. Now, I don't like Amazon Prime, and I'm not promoting them, but a friend of mine, she's like, you got to watch this because it correlated somewhat with the case we're working on. And it's, can't believe I forgot it. See? Mental issues. But anyway, it's about a soldier, and it was a group of SEALs, and the plot is that the government okayed a secret plan to inject these SEALs with a concoction in hopes to see if the shot would keep them from suffering PTSD. Well, come to find out, and then they're telling the people who are injecting them, it's just vitamin B. Just give these guys their vitamin B shots. They have to have it. So the people doing the injection are thinking it's one thing. The only people who know what it is are at the very, very top. Well, then when they found out that these injections, and again, this is movies, but I'm talking about how
they trying you. That's where they're telling you stuff.
Yeah, and so then come to find out these injections were actually causing brain tumors. So what did they do? They set it up so that all of them but one of the guys died, and then, the story then continues. But yeah, and that's the reality is we're not told what is really in these things. I mean, right. Never have been. They just don't tell you. And that's for everything. And it's scary. And I think in America, we should have the right to decide what we want and what we don't want to do. If you want to do it, I know people who've got it. I'm like, God bless you, go for it. If that's what makes you happy, do it. But don't expect the same of me. If I choose no, don't judge me because I choose no.
Yeah, and they are, and they will, and they say you're stupid, and you're crazy. I can't remember what the last thing. Oh, I don't want to say it because it's a curse word, but they called me bat crazy.
Right.
Crazy. Because I don't want to do it. Don't believe in it. But that's part of the personality change I'm seeing. These are family members that are saying this stuff. And it's like, it's my life. It's my choice, and regardless, I mean, I know there's a lot of people that didn't have a choice because they had to, do it to keep their job or whatever, which
right.
is absolutely horrible as well, I mean, but I watched Dr. Sherry Tenpenny this morning,
yep.
And, apparently they are finding white rubbery substance in the arteries of the deceased.
Oh, no.
And, yeah, so I believe this. Yeah, it's definitely was either from today or yesterday. The video.
Was that the they're calling it something like fibrin clots or something like that? So it's not blood, but it's a different material that's causing a clot, for lack of a better word.
And
Okay.
it's like she's naming off all these chemicals, and I know like skincare, like like lotion and shampoo chemicals and stuff because of something I did a long time ago, and I researched a lot of it. And so I'm seeing all these chemical names like glycoline and and paraffin, and I'm like, that's wax. Like these are the substances. They're dissecting these substances that they're finding inside the arteries of the deceased that have had it, and these doctors that are doing these autopsies have never seen it before. Never. She said they're like, what is it? Like, what is it? And so, and there's another female doctor that was talking about it too. Oh, and it's not Dr. Sherry Tenpenny. I listen to her too, but Wolf, Naomi Wolf. Do you know who she is?
I've heard of her.
Yeah. So she posted this on Twitter. She's like, what is this rubbery white substance that they're finding in the, deceased? And it's in their arteries. And that's, and then she showed also a bunch of pictures of the people that have that, it's not the Bell's palsy, but it's the thing that Justin Bieber has.
Yeah, the facial paralysis. Yeah.
Right? And it's a lot of people, and they're just brushing this all under the rug. They're not telling people the truth. We're having to go to these sources, the conspiracy theorists, to find the truth, of what's happening to people. And I think it's a genocide. I do. I think that's what's happening.
Yeah, I think so too. And something's even up with the Q-tips, if you will, because I went and and I really hated it because up until that point I had never used a Q-tip. And so when I went to go give birth to Amani, they were like, well, you have to have this test, this Q-tip, you have to do this. Because if you don't, then you have to cover up the entire time you're here, the entire time you're in labor, the entire time you're pushing, your entire visit, and obviously I couldn't leave the room really anyway. I mean, you got a whole lot going on. You're not really going to be leaving the room anyway. But my husband was not going to be allowed to even leave the room, let alone go get us food from outside the hospital. And, and granted, the hospital food wasn't bad, but sometimes it wasn't great. And I'm telling you that Arby's trip just before we went home was really, really good. But... Yeah, but that was what they made you do, and I felt so horrible. I literally felt like I went against our Heavenly Father in this. Like something told me this was just a horrible thing, and it's not just hormones either. And I suffered nosebleeds after having him, and I don't get nosebleeds
after the Q-tip or after you had your child?
After I had him, but I had to use the Q-tip before I went and got admitted.
Right.
I've had I understand that all pregnancies are different, and I get that, but and of course when you're pregnant, your nose will just kind of bleed a little. Like, I mean, that's nothing new, but the amount is what I'm talking about. I had never had an actual nosebleed before, and I had several of them after I gave birth and after I got home and stuff. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, you cannot convince me that that's a coincidence and that those Q-tips are innocent. I just don't buy it for a second. And
that's interesting to have the counter. You've got the
Sorry,
echo going on again.
dog barking.
Oh, that's okay. Because I've had to have two or three of the nasal exams due to issues being at the hospital, and I never had anything like that. See, and it's kind of like the same thing with the jab. You get some people who are okay, then you
Right.
get other people who are never okay ever again. And so, yeah, I wonder, is it just certain things, certain brands? I don't know. I'm just tossing this out as a
Well, I
thought.
think that with the jab, what I had heard, I don't know if it's true or not, but that there's like a number, like an identification number, and there's like if yours ends in like a 01, you got placebo. 02, you got like this amount of one. 03, it's like this amount. I don't remember if I found this article online or if I heard it in a video or what, but I did hear this definitely, and I mean it's just like the greatest human experiment ever. You know what I mean? I mean, they're experimenting, so they're wanting to see what works for them, what doesn't work. I mean, I believe that. I do. And with the Q-tip thing, there are people that have put it under a microscope, and like they can see like what they think or say looks like graphene oxide on it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I mean, the whole thing is just insane. You know, I watched this, a guy that has a channel also, his name's Bob Alexander, but he was saying that, you know, he's not either. So, but he said that if the intentions were good of our government, okay, the people that went in there and said, look, I took a blood test and I have antibodies. I'm fine, you know, because natural immunity is always better than anything, right? They don't care. It doesn't matter. So you still have to get it if you want to keep your job, or you still have to get it if, you know, whatever. That means the intentions aren't good. Period. They can't be.
Right. It's definitely nefarious. And I don't know. I mean, I haven't done enough research, so I don't know if they've been doing the test samples 1, 2, 3 type thing. But that would explain why they're demanding an extra one every few months. Because in any normal situation, that wouldn't happen. I mean, it doesn't happen with anything else. This is the only one. And they're talking about indefinitely and doing it to little babies. And I'm like, it's insanity. Absolute insanity.
Oh yeah, and you know, I think what keeps always replaying in my mind, like the whole every time, is the verse in Revelation where a third of the people were killed and they still didn't repent. It says a third of mankind was wiped out. Now, I mean, we can get into the whole symbolic, you know, we won't do that, but I'm just saying, so just if you're taking it for what it's saying, 1/3 of mankind is wiped out, and they still don't repent. And you're looking at that, you're seeing that, you're seeing people dying, you're seeing people damaged for life. You're seeing this. I mean, left and right. It's so in your face. But of course, you know, you got your good friends, the media, you know, coming through and oh no, and people still aren't getting it. They still aren't repenting. They still aren't saying, "Oh, this was a bad idea." In fact, they're pushing for it even more.
I have a relative, my uncle, who whenever I talk about God to him or Jesus or, you know, scripture or anything like that, I mean, he's bitter, and you know, he was a homicide detective and a police officer from 21 years old. I mean, that's been his career his whole life. He's retired now. He's in his late 60s, but his only daughter was killed in a car accident in 1995, I think it was. My cousin Sherry, she was 19 years old, and he's been bitter about that. But he says, you know, his questions and excuses are always, you know, if our God is going to allow these things to happen, then I don't want him to be my God. Then he's a psychopath. He's, you know, and it's like they don't get it. They don't understand because they think that God should just come in here and clear it all up, and they don't understand.
Anger and hurt, yeah.
They don't understand the sin. They don't understand the fall of Adam and Eve. They don't get it because they don't study it, or they don't pray about it and ask for God to show them and give them the answers. I've gotten to a point I can't even really talk to him anymore, which is really a shame.
Well, maybe you can try, because I've had a lot of people say that to me too, and, you know, same thing. all these horrible things just wouldn't happen. And I'm like, well, you believe that the Creator gives us all free will, right? That's what everybody says, right? Well, yeah. And that person had the free will to do that horrible deed, correct? Well, yeah, and then blah, blah, blah. So when you've done things that were wrong, and we've all done horrible things in our life if we're honest, you had free will. Is that just as fair for you? It's like people have to understand that now what we choose to do with that, that's what the end result is for. That's what the final judgment is for, is, we all are allowed to be tested. And unfortunately, in this world, there are a lot of people who choose wrong. They just do.
Well, Satan's in control pretty much,
Yeah.
of the world. And so
do we want our free will squashed because we want their free will squashed? Granted, what they did was wrong, but should we squish their free will? If we do, then we have to squish ours.
Right.
Well, and we have to keep in mind, too, again, we're told that we don't battle flesh and blood. And so, and I think what a lot of people do is they gloss over this, okay? Now, so there's also, which he would also know this, being a homicide detective, what I learned from my aunt is that there's a term called no human involved when you're dealing with a lot of these crimes. In other words, there was no person there doing this. And we have to keep in mind that a lot of these people who do these things are not people. Okay, so you have to, it's not just, I call it the Sunday spirit because it just, it gets me mad. Because it glosses, the Sunday spirit glosses, and it doesn't give people truth. And that goes into the true names, the name of our Heavenly Father, all of this stuff, which, by the way, is not YHWH, on and on and on. But anyway, people, they're glossing over it. They're thinking, I got into a fight with that person. I'm not dealing with that person. I'm dealing with the enemy in this situation. No, sometimes people are just turds. You're dealing with that person, but they're just kind of being a jerk, right? When you're saying when we're being told we are not battling flesh and blood, it was not flesh and blood that committed those crimes. Being a crime scene detector, I can imagine. I actually wanted that to be my career. But what was actually crime scene investigations. And so, but you have to understand that's the level that you're dealing with. That is what is not being taught to people. People are given this fluffy, and that's why they don't believe. That's why they stop believing. That's why we can't get I don't go to church. I refuse to go to church. Quite frankly, I believe it's just as much of an indoctrination system as school. But if I'm being absolutely honest, and it has me, and I would say it has made me bitter only because I realize how much we're all lied to. I realize that the names matter so much. That's why we're not given the right ones. And we're given this glossy, fluffy, read it for what I tell you it says. Don't read it for what it actually says, because what it actually says is everything opposite other than what I'm telling you. That's what we get all the time. And so when people are in these hard careers and they're facing these hard things and they're facing the death of, their only child and things like that. Now, I'm not saying this is across the board because, yes, there are a few exceptions who don't understand all of this stuff. But again, I believe that's ingrained for them to go deeper. I believe they have a starting point to go deeper, just a lot of people don't. Right. But it's because you're given this fluffy, glossy understanding of what is really going on. And so I feel so horrible for the people who don't believe in our Creator. They don't believe in our Heavenly Father because how can they? They were never given anything to stand on. It's like me building you a house and giving you absolutely no foundation but telling you one is there. I mean, I built you these little sticks for your entire house to stand on, and by the way, it's, 6 stories high. But you have to rely on these sticks. Well, what's going to happen? Everything's going to come crashing down.
Do you believe that do you know what the Calvinist religion, the people that are Calvinists believe? They believe in
I haven't studied that.
The predestination.
Mm.
So they believe that. So it's not about like having free will, which I don't necessarily believe what they believe in that way. Okay, but I do definitely believe there are some people there's nothing you can do for them. You can pray as much as you want. There's nothing you can do. They're not going to get it. I mean, I guess it also kind of goes to the same as, do you believe there's a serpent seed walking this earth right now? Do you believe that there is, Cain, lineage walking this earth right now? Because I do. And,
I do too.
Okay. Because that's kind of a hard one to bring up to people, because people are like, oh, do you believe in reptilians? Yeah, I actually kind of do. So, but I pray for the people I love, my family. I pray for everybody. I want everybody to wake up, and see what's happening. And when you do finally see that your prayers have worked for some people, and it's so amazing to know that, you have helped them wake up, and I have seen that in some of my friends, some of, my husband, from, which is the biggest one to me, just knowing that, I see it, it's beautiful, but I also believe there are some people that it's not, and those are the people where I feel like when I felt like I was in Los Angeles or Beverly Hills, whatever, I felt like I needed to get out of there. I didn't belong there. I felt like I did not belong there. I shouldn't have been there. Like, it just, the whole experience was bad. And
I'm glad you swung it back around to that same topic. I wanted to toss this out there because when I was doing photography a lot, and I went to this one shoot, and there was a young man there, and in fact I got his photo put in a magazine in Australia. I mean, it turned out to be a pretty good photo, but he was dressed like a girl. And from last I understand, he's actually trying to go through the process. But it broke my heart because he was hungry. He didn't have any money, right? And this is just when you go to shoot, it's like chaos and nobody eats. But this poor thing was hungry. And so somebody had asked, and he was just sitting aside, right? He didn't say anything, but somebody said, hey, we're going to go get something. And he's like, no, thank you, And so I could tell he didn't have the money. So I went up and I just said, I got you, here, I got you. Go get yourself something to eat. And by that point, everybody had already left. And he goes, and then he kind of sat there. He goes, no, that's okay. And I go, what's going on? And he goes, well, I don't want anybody to laugh at me. And I said, if somebody laughs at you, you send them my direction. I'll set them straight. Because, I understand that a lot of this is psychological. And maybe, there could be an argument where it could be medical, but a lot of this is psychological. And for him, I mean, I'm watching this poor thing, and I could tell it's like he's so messed up because of how, and then he started telling me how he was raised. His life was horrible. I just wanted to just reach out and grab this guy, dressed as a girl, nails and all, and just hug him and go, oh my God, you never were loved. Just never loved. And so, and I told him, I said, if anybody says anything, you tell them to come talk to me. And he wouldn't leave. And I said, okay, would you feel better if I go with you? Because trust me, nobody will say to you if I'm there. I won't let it happen. And so we go, and I mean, and everybody treated him just fine. And then we're ordering the food. I ordered something so, he didn't feel so weird. And then they're like they're asking me what this person wanted. And I said, well, ask him. And so he, and as we're leaving, he got this really sad look on his face, and he goes, can I ask you a question? And I said, sure, anything. He goes, why did you say he? He goes, I'm a she. And I go, no, you're a he. And he goes, is that, I mean, honestly, he's in a real heartfelt thing. And he goes, is that really how you see me? And I go, yes, you look like a man and you are a man. And that's okay. I said, but I accept you, but don't expect me to call you what you want me to call you. I said, I'm not. Just like I don't expect you to refer to me the way I refer to me. You, whatever you want to do, go for it. But you're a guy. I'm going to call you a man. And I said, so if we have that understanding, we're good. And he's like, he goes, okay. He goes, well, he goes, it's just so weird. He goes, I don't understand how you can see me as a guy.
How old was he? Was he
19, 20, 21 maybe, young guy. And since he never got any psychological help because nobody cared, and society is all about, oh yeah, support, and they couldn't see that this poor young man was screaming for help, and nobody. The doctors failed him, the psychology field failed him, his parents failed him, the people who knew him failed him. I think I'm the only one who called him a man. Wow. And I'm like going, dude, you're a dude. And, but again, I took fantastic photos of him. And, yeah, he's published in a magazine in Australia. But to this day, someone just told me, they go, yeah, he's going to go through the surgery to transition. And it breaks my heart because I know down the road when he finally gets past this, when he's old enough, he's going to regret it.
If he goes and gets that surgery, he can't go back then.
Right.
And I've heard some people that have regrets, from doing that. I mean, yeah, you are born what you are. You are. And, I mean, heck, I was a tomboy when I was a kid, I like to ride motorbikes and, you know what I mean, do all the stuff boys do, but, I mean, I knew I was a girl. I was just that they always referred to me as a tomboy, and I know lots of tomboys, that little girls that like to play with dirt bikes and things like that, they grow up and they become women, and they get married and they have children, so it's this world we live in right now is so insane, that if a child comes up to their parent and they're not, Christian, they don't have a background of knowing, right from wrong in that essence, they may say to their little child, oh, okay, you want to be a girl? You're 10 years old, you're a little boy, you want to be a girl? Well, let's go give you some hormones then. I mean, that's happening right now.
Well, and not only that, it is so normal for children to say all of a sudden and to act and dress and be the opposite, because what they do is they mimic whoever they seem to feel is getting the attention. So if you have a boy and they see a girl getting the attention, then all of a sudden, I'm going to be a girl. Well, it's all about the attention. It's not because they're a girl, but yet society and doctors and parents all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's the in thing. I have a trans child. And then they screw up these kids. But like you were saying, yeah, there is actually a really good documentary that was out for a long time done in England about people who had transitioned and then detransitioned and the hell they went through, and they're just like, why did they even do this? And so it's not a nuance. It happens a lot.
Oh, wow. If you can think of the name of it or whatever, you can.
I'll see if I can find it and then send it to you via email.
And I think too, the school systems, along with music, I just did the music thing, and I tied it to classical music.
That's a great video too, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
That's a question I've had for a long time.
Well,
about the music without words, classical music or jazz, things like that. Yeah.
Oh, did you know actually jazz originated as how do I word it? I forget exactly how to word it, but in other words, it had something to do strictly with sex. So in other words, it was, and I learned this a long time ago when I was going to church. There was like this guy who did special music. His voice was amazing. And, he kind of would talk to me and stuff like that. Like, I don't know, he was just the coolest guy ever. But anyway, he told me about that, and he goes, yeah, jazz was specifically meant to, I forget the wording that he used, but in either direction, it was...
I'll look it up. No, it's interesting to me.
Sex. That's all it was about, was sex. And so so kind of like the deviance of or whatever, like that whole ordeal. But then, so as I'm doing this video and I'm looking, and because I already know, I mean, you're movie stars, you're singers, you're everybody. They sold their soul, okay? And
Sure.
and you have a lot of people saying, oh, well, we'll pray for them and maybe they can get their way out. I don't know, like you said, I think there are some people that just can't. And I don't know if you can back out of that contract. I really don't know. I know that when
I wondered that myself. I mean,
people have tried. I mean, we're looking at Michael Jackson, look at Prince, and then we see what happens to them.
Right, they try. They do try, and I don't know if you can. Maybe you can. Maybe somehow you can back out of that. But
you know,
but the thing is that what they're doing with this music, though, is that they are literally putting spells. That was the word I couldn't think of in the video. They're putting spells on these songs. And you look at what are kids listening to, even at 5 and 6 years old. I didn't know better with my daughter, so I was listening to like Justin Timberlake and Timberland and, you know, all kinds of people, you know, but they're literally putting spells on this. And you think about it, what is Baphomet's image? Okay, we all know they worship Baphomet, right? Well, what is the image? It's a male, female, animal, goat thing. So
androgynous goat, yeah.
So
you know.
Yeah. And people are all wound up in their spirit animal. Well, where do you think that's coming from? And then this whole male, female, I don't know.
True, yeah.
You know? And so it's like, where do you guys think this stuff is coming from? And then when you have music, and I don't think any of us can deny this, it literally enters your soul and gives you this feeling. It gives you this euphoria. It gives you this high. And it does for me anyway. And so
it does for me too. Concerts, things like that. You know, I mean, my husband and I, we used to go to concerts all the time. I mean, we've been to so many different concerts, and you know, you definitely can feel it. You know, I mean, I'm not going to say I feel it enter me but I could definitely feel it changed me. It made me want it more. It's hypnotizing. You know, it has a way of entering you.
Yeah,
and the thing, though, we have to remember is when the Creator created Lucifer with the ability to be the music person. I mean, music is in and of itself is not bad. It's not a horrible thing, but it's what Lucifer has done to it. He knows how it affects the human body. But like I was telling Lindsay, I really wanted to do a follow-up to the classical music video. Now, I love classical music. I mean, I absolutely love it. I love to play it, and yes, it does. When you play, it's so calming. But what I told her later, what I found interesting, because I didn't know about Johann Christian Bach. Was that Christian was the son's name that she brought? I didn't even know. I'm like, wait a second, that's not Johann Sebastian, which is who we all know mostly. Okay. And I'm like, what? Bach was a Freemason? So I looked it up. Now, Johann Sebastian Bach is not. He was ostracized because he refused. He wouldn't. He's like, no, I'm not going to. You people are evil. But his son, the Johann Christian, who then turned out to be a world famous classical music artist. So he rose in the ranks and he chose Freemasonry. He joined in everything.
And what kind of got me too was we were watching this movie. It was. I always mess up his name. It's Liam Neeson.
Yes,
Neeson. Okay. That one. Okay, but anyway, Optimus Prime. Okay, we're watching one of his movies, and I thought it was going to be like a drama, right? Like, because it was supposed to be about his son who got murdered because he got wound up in this whole drug thing, whatever. Anyway, it ended up being like a dark comedy thing. It was really weird, but in either direction, he kidnaps this little boy. He had absolutely no intention of hurting him. I mean, it wasn't like that at all. But the little boy's dad was responsible for his son's death. So to kind of like play like, oh, I have your son type thing. But anyway, so he puts on music for the little boy. Interesting enough, he puts on classical rock. Okay, so we're, you know, our stuff from the 80s. And the little boy goes, and he's like, are you a classic rock fan? And the little boy goes, I'm more into Bach. And he goes, okay, so then he changes the channel. And for whatever reason, that got me thinking. I was like, man, what's with that? What is with that? And then, you know, as we're going through, no, he didn't give a full name, right? He just gave a last name. So the fact that it may have been Christian instead of Sebastian, well, okay, so it's kind of what they always do, right? They just give you that little hint. So of course they were referring to the one who was in the whole nonsense, not necessarily the dad. So that it was just that scene that just kept sticking with me. Like, you have to look into this, like, think about it.
Yeah, your gut's telling you to, so definitely. I'm fascinated by it. As much as we love music, my husband and I love music. I mean, we do, but I won't listen to it anymore. Not until I know, like, you know, I know they've messed with the hertz on it, you know.
Yeah.
Like, 432.
That's the other interesting thing. The Rockefellers actually were the ones to, especially in church organs, so they were the ones who set the decibels, and so they set the decibels to a specific level, and with this specific level, it entrances the person in the room. So they do that now with every music. So every single music, whether it's on record or whatever, it is set to a specific decibel, and that decibel will now entrance the person listening to it.
And I mean, it makes sense if you think about it. I mean, everything runs on vibration, right? So I mean, and I don't even turn my radio on anymore. I don't listen to music anymore, but I'm like you. I love music. There's classical music I like. I mean, I love music. So, but I have to be super careful about it, and because I don't want that I don't want it here. You know, I don't want to be entranced by it. You know, we were watching a show, and you know, Bob Dylan just like admitted that he sold his soul to the devil. You know, and Jimmy Page. You know, he said that when he was writing songs, he said the pen just started writing itself. You know, because a college did an interview, so to speak, with him. Okay, he came to the college. This was just like in 2018 or 19, and so they just have all these kids in this room, and they're asking him questions, right? Just asking him all. And somebody said, you know, did you write the songs, the backmasking? Because some of these songs say some it's pretty obvious, you know. And he started laughing, and he said, I couldn't have done that. He said, there's no way that I could have done that on purpose, but I do know. He goes, I know what you're talking about because I've heard it. He said, when I wrote my songs, the pen just moved itself. He said, I didn't even know what I was writing. And so those spirits, you know, that's what people, you know, will say, you know, the demons that have been on this earth for thousands and thousands of years, they're smarter than we are.
Yeah, and there's a lot of interviews with the Beatles and with the Beach Boys, all these, and they all say the same thing. They all say they didn't write it. They were taken over by a spirit. I mean, they admit it.
They admit it. And Bob Dylan did that interview with 60 Minutes.
I saw that.
Yeah, and he said he was up holding up his end of the bargain, and he said, well, you know, who'd you make the bargain with? And he goes, you know, the chief commander. You know, I'm like,
of like, this world, the chief commander of the world.
And he said, well, what was the bargain? What'd you make the bargain for? And he said, to get where I am now.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh. People.
And I really want to cover this too, that Christian music is literally no different. I used to be like, we are talking, oh my goodness, DC Talk. I don't know if anyone's going to know who they are, but DC Talk and Toby Mac. Oh gosh, I love
the other ones. I know, we listen to them too.
Oh yeah, I mean, okay, the song Jesus Freak. Okay, that was my song, right? Okay, I will tell you, I would be jamming out my car. I would have that thing on full blast. I'm like, yeah, you know. But come to find out, though, you know, I got the bravery to listen to this one. I won't call them out, but I did find it ironic that they called out the Catholic Church for all of the, I mean, blatant blasphemies that the entire thing is all about, but yet refuse to believe in the true Sabbath. So, but in either direction, they did this thing on Christian music, and kind of calling out the industry. So I finally got brave enough to listen to it, because I'll be honest, I didn't want to at first. I was like, I like this too much. I know they're going to say something that's going to change my mind. So I finally got the bravery to listen to it, and I was blown away. I mean, you think about it. Toby Mac has a song called "I" on it, not eyes, not two, one, and the cover for this song is the all-seeing eye.
Really?
And it's just fancified, right? But it's the same thing. And I remember I got away from it, and I was like, okay. Well, we were painting our room and painting the doors, and the music my husband listens to. I'm sorry, I'm calling him out. It's awful. It's horrible. Horrible. It's the cussing that I can't. We fight over it, actually, and I'm just like, I can't with this. This is why. But anyway, he was listening to that, and then I was like, okay, that's something, anything other than it. So I put on Toby Mac. I felt a literal, like, yelling at me. Like, you were just, because I could feel it. It was like, okay, I've never done drugs or smoked a cigarette, but it was the feeling I could imagine somebody would feel had they been away from a cigarette for a while and they got that puff in, right, or a drug or whatever, and it went through their veins. It was the same feeling. Like, it entered my entire body, and it's just so weird. Like, my mom's probably like, you're on drugs. No, I'm not, I promise. But it really did. It filled my whole body, like, oh my God, like, this is amazing. And then I felt this, like, yelling at me. Like, I already told you to get away from this. You were already out of it. What are you doing? And I was like, whoa, like, you know, and it wasn't audible, like, okay, I'm not that crazy, but it was that, like, you know, inner voice, like, what are you doing? And then I changed it, and that went away. And it's just to me, it just goes to show this is the influence that all of this music has on us. And because they're all tied together, how do you think all of these artists, Christian or not, how do you think they get to where they are? It's the same thing. And I would even go so far as to say,
it's like, how did you get there?
Yeah, and here's the thing. Say what?
Am I echoing?
I don't think
yeah. Yeah, you were when you were farther away. When you got closer, it wasn't echoing.
I can hear myself, like, you know, like feeding it back. So, okay, There we go.
But I would even go so far as to say there's still, and I love Becca Shea, but I'm going to say the same thing about her. They're still echoing false names. They're still echoing the term God. They're still, so there's really nothing different, even in terms of what they're talking about. However, if you don't know this, if you don't understand that there is a distinguishable difference between some certain things, there is no difference. People are just thinking there's a difference, but that doesn't really matter, because as long as people are thinking there's a difference and believing there's a difference, then you win either way.
You have to learn to afford people grace. Now, we've been over this several times.
Yeah,
now,
but I was there. That's why I'm saying it.
Okay, yeah, but, you know, so the fact that Becca Shea or whoever is still using these terms, that's where they're at. That's where you were. You happen to have found somebody, you found information which led you down a path that gave you different information, so you've learned.
That's why I'm sharing.
They may not, but they may not ever have that. And
right,
so,
I'm not judging anyone in this. I mean, this is why.
No, okay. Don't be defensive now. So, what is the point that? Is the point that Becca Shea says the words God, or is it the point that she really is? She signed a contract too.
Honestly, I can't tell, and that's why I have a hard time with it, because I love her music. I think she seems like a really great person. I feel as though maybe she's been lied to. I feel as though she hasn't been given the truth. I believe her heart is in what she does. I do believe that. so I'm not knocking her. I'm not saying, oh, so you obviously signed your soul over. I'm not saying that. I'm saying she's following her heart, and I understand that.
Well, and she's a perfect example of, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, and I'm just saying, just like my heart was in what I was doing. My heart was singing Jesus Freak DC Talk, okay? My heart was in the rock and roll. My heart was, I'm going to praise him in this, rock way. But just because my heart was there and I was in the ignorance at the time, didn't make me right. However, yes, we are afforded, that's what I'm saying, we are afforded grace for what we don't know. But when we know, that's when we're supposed to do something with it. And what I'm saying is people as big as Toby Mac at this point know what they're doing.
Well, and this is why I think it's a good place to compare Becca Shea with Toby Mac.
Right,
Toby Mac, it's as plain as day the dude signed a contract. I mean, you can tell by his symbolism, you can tell by everything. Becca Shea has not had as many of those, although she's starting to lean that way. I've been looking at her album covers and everything, but it doesn't appear that yet she has signed her soul. So, right. But she's also not super popular like Toby Mac.
Do you know who the channel on YouTube is called? The Good Fight Ministries?
Mm-mm.
You should look them up. Write it down, Good Fight Ministries. They do the videos. They sold their soul for rock and roll. Wow. And their videos are good. They really tell a lot about a lot of people. They're very well learned on the subject. It's a young man that runs it's called the 511 News, but the channel is called it's Good Fight Ministries, and I really like his channel. I've learned a lot.
And real quick too, what just kind of came to mind that I wanted to kind of put in there too, and so there's these brothers, I forget what they're called, but I used to love them too. I mean, their voices are amazing, their songs are amazing, but they do this song called Amen. Now, a lot of us would think, oh, that's really great, like I did. Oh, that's really great, that's really great. Until you learn that Amen is from Amen-Ra. It was yet another way to praise an Egyptian god. And so it's things like this. It's things like this that are in there, and they're sneaky, and they're, and again, I don't know if they knew what they were doing. I'm not going to make a judgment call on that. I don't know. It could just simply that their heart, and that's what they felt in their heart to write their music. I don't know. But I'm just saying it was allowed to be because of what it really means over what people are going to believe it means. And that's the sneakiness that is put in there. That's my point. I'm not making a judgment call on anyone. I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm just saying this is where we all were at one point. This is where I was at one point. However, when you're looking at it, well, what does that really mean? And you find out, you're like, whoa, this is not stuff we should be entangled with.
I agree. I do agree, and I think when your eyes are open to something, God opened your eyes, to see what you needed to see, and anytime I have a gut feeling, I always try to listen to it, because I feel like it is God telling me, look, you need to look at this, so I don't know. I mean, it's pretty crazy. It was crazy. I found your video. It came up in my feed on my YouTube.
Oh, cool.
So I know. I was like, oh, I'm going to watch this because I was just fascinated. I've always been wondering about that, and I just haven't ever really taken it anywhere or researched it or anything like that. So I was really, really glad to see that when you said classical music.
Well, I really hope that she actually covers, that's what I was telling her to do, one that actually covers classical music. Most of her video was really about classic rock. But I would love to have her do a video on classical music. I'd watch that in a heartbeat.
I'll do some research on it too.
Oh, okay, yeah, and then whatever you find, definitely send, because I think what also makes it so interesting for me is that because I was into rock, when you mix classic and rock together, it creates this, I'm not thing. It's a good thing. It creates this unbelievable sound and mix and feeling. And
well,
so
okay, well, maybe let me define classical rock. It's the era. It's the time frame. So since it was so long ago, it's called classical rock.
No, but I'm saying like rock music, and you mix it with classical music.
Who does that?
So if you go back to like the very first Matrix movie, and there's an instrumental that they do.
Okay.
That used to be one of my favorite instrumentals of all time. However, what it is classical music, so to speak, mixed with rock and roll. So you have...
Oh, wait, you know what? And just popped in my head, Trans-Siberian Orchestra. They do that. Okay, gotcha. Got it.
Yeah. So,
nice.
So that kind of mashup. And so... that's just really what got me thinking about it, was that if I love that mashup so much and they go together like in this amazing, the seemingly amazing way, there has to be a connection to the two. And so that was kind of the reason for the segue. But yes, I would like to cover that more. But
there, you have to understand too, I hear what you're saying, and I agree with like 95% of what you're saying, but there's a beauty to music. Music is a gift, and not everything that's been done is of the evil forces. But unfortunately, this beautiful gift that we were given has been used. We see what it does.
Right.
So many people, they, just do horrible things. All headbangers, for instance, that music is notorious for certain activities, right? And it's sad, but it does. It takes a dark turn so many times.
And there's so many rock and roll bands, okay? Look at the Rolling Stones, okay? Look at their one song, Sympathy for the Devil, okay? I mean, I used to be a huge Rolling Stone fan. And, I mean, you watch Mick come on the stage, in his red, cape, and there's a big flaming pentagram behind him. I mean, oh yeah, he's singing as though he's the devil, and
their logo.
Huh?
Even their logo has a tongue sticking out. Well, there is a Bible verse that says, "Who are you that sticks out your tongue to mock me?" That's what all of the celebrities, that's why it's their logo, the tongue sticking out. That's why you see Einstein sticking out their tongue. That's why you see all of these celebrities, and you see it in the movies, just very briefly. They'll stick their tongue out. That's what that is in reference to, is to mock the Creator. Right. And, and...
You guys stop. Sorry, my dogs keep they keep giving me a tiny... I'm in my husband's office, and I have the door closed, but it's hot in here. We don't have central air conditioning here. And, I mean, it's 7:15 at night right now, so it should start cooling down a little bit. He's like, "Are you going to make it if we move back to the United States in Florida?" Because it's like 75 degrees here. I'm like dying. I'm like, oh, it's so hot. But yeah, there's so many, rock and roll bands that sing about, they not only sing about the devil, but they also sing about Jesus in a bad way, and it's, look at John Lennon. Imagine there's no heaven, it's easy if you try, it's like, when I really start listening to the words to some of these songs, it's like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, they're bad. But, and then there's just the blatant ones like Mick Jagger, it's very blatant, So, and he, I read a story about him. One of the band members, Ronnie Wood, I think it was, when they were young, very young, just starting out, he said that Mick Jagger came over to his house and sat on his front porch and told him that he just wrote that song, Sympathy for the Devil. And he said something was different about him. He said, I wouldn't even let him in my house. That's what he said. Yeah, he's a band member, right? He's like, I can't remember where I read that article, but I was like, oh my gosh. Like he said, he creeped him out. And it's turned out to be one of their biggest songs, And I mean, so yeah, the devil's definitely got his hands in music, and I think you have to be super discerning and pray hard. Like I said, I have a Bose, the Bose radio, whatever, the CD player, and I love that little thing. I don't even turn it on anymore. I just don't even listen to music. I'm just like, You know, we've got we have instruments here. You know, a clarinet. I've got a piano. Well, it's a keyboard. I've got guitars. I don't even play music anymore. It's like I don't want to get messed up in, you know, doing some kind of voodoo rain dance or something. You know what I mean? You just don't know.
Yeah.
It's like you have to be careful. You know? So, yeah.
So if you come on the next episode and you have a rain stick, we know something's wrong.
I know. But oh my gosh, so I was really glad I saw your video. I was glad I got to watch it before we got together too, because I knew we were going to talk about the non-globe Earth, and you know we really haven't even talked about it, you know, which is crazy. But
I want to get with I want you to. I'm sorry, I'm taking over. I'm sorry, people. This is my daughter's channel, the Netherlands. So you take over, Lindsay.
Oh, no, I was just but no, I don't care. But no, it's really funny because one thing I was like, remind me of this because I know I'm gonna forget. So I'm glad, Sky, that you mentioned the non-ball. Because there's this, and I'm sure everyone has seen it. The new. What do they call it? Do they call it a photograph? Is that what they actually call it? The new star.
From the
image. They call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they call it an image.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, it's an image, all right.
Why aren't there pictures of Earth like that? You know.
But it's like,
but
yeah. And so there was this one thing that someone had posted, and its headline was. And I thought this was interesting, their wording. Humans are feeling a compulsion to worship whoever made this. And it was the image of,
the supposed galaxy, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just sitting here thinking, oh, they are all right. And then one person I love their comment. They were like the art department of NASA. I was just like, oh, I loved it. I was like, yeah, pretty much. I was like, and you think about it, that's what they're doing. They are worshiping NASA, who, by the way, their name means to deceive. Okay, in Hebrew, their name means to deceive. They have a serpent's tongue in their logo.
A little red thing.
The chevron.
Always, what's missing out of those letters to make the word Satan?
Just a T.
T. What do they always say right before liftoff? T minus 10.
Oh, dang.
It's minus T. I was like, this blew my mind when I read that the other day. I was like, oh my gosh, I told my husband. He was like, oh, that's crazy. Yeah, because it is. I have family that are like, they wear their NASA shirts. You know, they just love it. You know, I have a little brother, you know, he actually almost went to work for SpaceX, and I'm so glad that he didn't, you know. But yeah, I can't. I try to talk to him about it, but
well, you know, and I love space. I have space.
That's beautiful.
I mean, I always have loved it, and I always wanted to be an astronomer when I was little, right? But my mom told me I would become the devil and I would be evil, so I couldn't become an astronomer. So, you know, life went on. And so I followed NASA, and then I got a job with a government contracting facility. And I mean, I've never believed we've gone to the moon. Even when I worked there, I'm like, nope, you guys, sorry, you cannot convince me. We did that, but that's a whole different ball game. But when I would look at my favorite website that I would go to is NASA Photo of the Day. And so every day I would go there and look at the new photo that they'd put up. They call it photo, right? Or is it picture of the day? I think maybe it's now picture of the day. And so one time, you know, I was curious, so I wrote in, because you can write questions, or at least you used to be able to. And I'm like, because my favorite is the Orion Nebula, or the Horsehead Nebula out of the Orion thing. And so they wrote back and they said, actually, we colorize them. It doesn't look like that. When you look up there, it's just like white and black or white and gray, so there's no color. And I'm like, oh. They're like, well, yeah, so they determine what's going to be radon, what's going to be whatever, all hydrogen, whatever these gases are, and then they assign it a color. So they colorize everything. And so when that James Webb photo came out, a friend of mine put that on there, and I said, well, you clearly can tell it's a picture. There's a difference between a picture and a photo. A picture is something that you make to represent what you see, and a photo is an actual representation of what is seen. Two different meanings here. And so I told him, I go, it's a picture. And NASA will tell you it's a picture. Well, they were just so offended because how dare I say that NASA was faking this? And I'm good. They fake everything. They'll tell you it's not a real, it's a picture. It's a composite. But people honestly will look at that and they will swear up and that's real, that's real. But when you even tell them, the creators tell you it's not real, they get mad at you.
Even the guy that did the Earth picture for the iPhone, he said, he did it,
Yep, it's photoshopped because it has to be.
Mm-hmm. So I have these. Have you heard of this person?
Well, I can't see the name.
It's Vibes of Cosmos.
No.
Down below here? No,
I've not heard.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So they have a channel on YouTube. This person, I believe it's a female, but is brilliant, incredibly brilliant. This is not a religious channel. It's not a Christian channel, but it is definitely a brilliant channel. So I've always wondered. I have a couple of different cameras. My husband just got me a new Canon. I love it, but I also have a 1,000mm lens, and so I take pictures of the moon sometimes.
I'm jealous.
And yeah, I should have my husband bring it. It's like huge. I just got it for my birthday, March. So, but I've always wondered about the moon and the craters or just the way it looks. And this person has proven to me that it is a reflection of our Earth.
Oh, I've seen that. Yes.
It is a plasma disc, and it is reflecting the Earth. And she does this map, which is crazy. If you can see it, she shows you where everything is. And this is just one map. She has a really good one, but part of the Earth we aren't able to go to. Okay, like the Antarctica.
Right.
Okay. Well, now I know why. Because there's way more Earth than we're told there is. Lots more land out there. And that's what the outer space is. It's outer space.
Mm-hmm.
It's like space, And so I got really excited when I found her channel. I ordered her books. She's got all these. There's 3 of them, but it's incredible. Her research and her photos or pictures of the moon, where she can show you where Australia is, Africa, the United States. She can show you exactly where the Great Lakes are. And I thought it was, I didn't know if you guys had heard of her or not.
Well, I had never heard of her, but I had heard of that theory. And in fact, David Weiss also talks about the outer space and quote unquote aliens and stuff like that, the terminology. But it's interesting that she calls it, what did you call it? What did you say the moon was? I'm sorry, I lost. Thank you, plasma. I lost the word. I don't know why. But way back when it was still black and white TV, they were some news guy was interviewing an older gentleman, and this was before they went to the moon, right? And he says, "Well, we're getting ready to go to the moon," and he's like, "Well, good luck. They're not going to make it." And he goes, "Well, why?" And he's like, "It's plasma. You can't land on it." So they were saying this way back.
I just watched his interview. Was he from Australia?
I can't remember.
But we're talking in the early 60s.
Yeah.
Yes. And he says that the moon is plasma. John, hold on, let me come ahead. John, what will you call them?
I can relate. Either Peanut's going nuts, or Malachi's coming in, or I'm having to,
Sorry about that.
Decide, or I get it.
I can see she really proves it to you with her research and her channel. She talks about the planets, how they're all lined up on top of each other, and that the ring that's actually around Saturn is Jupiter. And I'm sorry, Jupiter is the circle that's in the ring of Saturn. And when you really think about it, when you do see photographs from a telescope, they both kind of look the same.
Well, I would have to, yeah, I would challenge her on that because I've looked at both Saturn and Jupiter at the same, not at the same time, but
Right.
on my telescope and then here. But unless it's reflecting, maybe that's what she's meaning.
Reflect, but it is because of where we are located on the Earth. I mean, if you look out at something and it looks like maybe a circle, and it's not because of where you're standing, where you're looking at it from. Does that make sense? I mean, I'm trying to think.
Yeah, because that's what I was trying to tell my friend as well. Yeah, because I keep telling him stars are not glowing balls of gas; they're these dancing lights. It's the most incredible thing you've ever seen. And so he got livid with me, and I'm like, get out a telescope and look. You can do this, but they won't.
They're disco. They look like disco lights to me. When I see stars in the telescope, they look like just changing all different colors, and they're beautiful. So yeah, I try to talk to my little brother about this stuff too, but it's even like the stars, like, new stars being made or old stars dying. I mean, I don't believe that either. God made everything. He did it in 6 days, and then it was done.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that believers, they'll sit there and they'll, promote this. Oh, well, NASA, they found this new galaxy in infinite space. I'm like, okay, you guys do realize that in the very book that you guys are saying that you are reading too, says he completed it. What does complete does not mean he created infinite space and just let it go. And now somehow we're all going to go whirling and twirling through it. Like, that's not what that means. What does completed mean? We know completed means complete. It's done. Not, I'm sending you off on, I'm going to toss you like a frisbee, and now you guys are, going for who to catch you. And, it's just like, guys, come on. And then when you mention the stars, they obviously look kind of like they're in water, right? They kind of look like a little, like, boop, 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 and...
they're behind. Is there water there?
Yeah, because we're told the firmament.
They're within the firmament.
Yeah,
right.
The firmament, which is cast like iron, it separates us from water. And we have no idea exactly where those stars are located. Are they inside the water? Are they, maybe some are inside the water, maybe some are out, like, who knows? But we are told that they are in the firmament. And the firmament, yes, separates, and it on top, because they're saying, oh, firmament just means expanse. Okay, and first of all, no, because if we're also told it's cast like iron, okay, we're told it looks like clear sapphire, which is kind of crazy. Crystal. And then so we know that this is a something firm over us. Right. Yeah, I do personally believe it's a dome. I personally do, but I know there's a lot of people who would challenge that. But I'm just saying, if you're going, just for argument's sake, if you're saying you're believing in the Bible and you're reading it, there is no way to misinterpret what it is if you're listening to what someone's telling you to understand what, but if you're reading it for what it says, it doesn't say what people are telling you it says. And on top of that, people will literally laugh at you if you say you need to go back to the Hebrew understanding of the Bible. I'm not fluent in Hebrew. I just do, there are bits and pieces and things that I've picked up. But one thing I do know for sure is that the original word for earth means land. Okay? Right. So all they did, we could be the planet seas, right? Because we were told that, earth and seas were made. So all they did was take this one thing that sounded, oh, this sounds like it could be a planet name, because if we name it seas, nobody's going to fall for this. But if we name it earth, well, now we got something. So it's like the original meaning literally is land. It doesn't mean planet.
Hera.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yep.
And all these believers, you're like, okay, if the sun, moon, so they're like, well, if firmament just means vast expanse, and then of course you'll have even other other believers who are trying to go against the true creation. Okay, good paper. Who are trying to go against the true creation. They'll just be like, oh no, even in original Hebrew, it just means expanse. Oh, okay, but even still, Thank you. An expanse can only go so far, right? I mean, even if you were going for that, okay, again, for argument's sake, expanse does not mean forever. I mean, it really
Right.
is. An expanse could mean many different things, but it definitely doesn't mean infinite space, okay? 'Cause
Well, I don't know. I haven't looked up that word, you know, in the Hebrew form, because I don't know that they mean the same thing. I mean, I do believe that, you know, the Bible's been translated. Look how many times it's been translated in, you know, for us in English, you know, alone, you know. But firmament to me sounds like it's a firm, you know,
right.
that it's something that's firm, that's there. It's, you know,
Firmament.
dance to me sounds like it could just be, you know, just something that's not actually physically there. And I believe that it is physically there. I do
Well,
believe we live in a closed system.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, and even Bill Nye, who now denies it, he, for a longest time, he would go on, and there's TV where he's like, we live in an enclosed system. You people have to understand we live in an enclosed system. And we're like, yeah, no kidding, Curl. Yeah, Bill Nye said this. And,
Oh, wow.
and you would think that since the discovery of the lunar wave, that there would now be no question that there's a barrier.
Right. Well,
But
and you know, the Founded Earth Brothers, they actually have a video out. I love those guys. They have a video where it shows something swimming in front of the moon. Like
Yeah.
it looks like a fish, like 3 or 4 of them, you know. And I mean, and they're like, we don't know. I mean, they didn't take the video. Somebody sent it to them, but they're just like, yeah, it kind of looks like it could be water, you know.
Yeah, I got to do 2 interviews with them. They're with the one brother and then the one brother and his wife. Oh, I was so excited.
Are they on YouTube?
Yeah,
Oh, I want to watch them. Okay, I'll go through and look at them.
not on their channel.
It's on their channel?
On mine.
On your channel? Okay. Yeah, they're super nice. So I talked to them a little bit recently too. Well, a few weeks ago, a month ago, or whatever. I told them what was going on with me. They were live. They had a live, and I was on it because, you know, I will sometimes if I get up at like 6 o'clock in the morning or 5, if I wake up early, the sun comes in my window this morning at like 4:45, so I just wake up. Yeah, we don't get a lot of dark right now. It's starting to go that way again, but like it stays light outside till about 11:30 at night. And then it gets light at about it's about 4:45 now or 5, but like right at like June 21st, it's like the longest day of the year here, and it doesn't get dark till like midnight, and it gets light at like 4:30. Yeah, so you want to have room darkening shades.
you're really close to where are you close to?
Well, we're north.
Okay.
We're close to I'd say like the UK.
Okay.
Like we could drive to London in about 7 hours.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. So, but I mean, we're very close to Germany too. Germany's on our border, and Belgium.
So is it the same? I'm just curious. Is it the same for those countries as well? Does it stay light until wee hours of the night?
I'm not really sure about, I mean, I would think, you know what I mean? Germany would, you know, parts of it anyway. If you just look at a map, don't look at the regular map. Look at the flat Earth map, okay? And think about how the sun does its thing, right? You know? And then, but yeah, we definitely, I mean, we're not, I would say that we're pretty close to the same level as parts of Alaska.
Okay. Okay, gotcha. Well,
Yeah,
and you know, if we have, I think we have time, but I really, I really want to hear and maybe discuss about what's going on where you are, because like I was talking to you before we started recording, is that we don't really hear a lot about the farmers out there, and it's very hush hush. And what I do hear is kind of like, oh, it's not real. It's not what you people think. Since you were there, can you fill us in with what's going on?
So the farmers are just protesting, and they basically blocked the highways so that, because they don't want them to use the nitrogen in their soil anymore. Like they want them to reduce their use of nitrogen for the fertilizer. I mean, and they want them to reduce it by like 50% or more than that by like 2030. I mean, their emissions. They want them to cut all their emissions back and stuff. And you know, this is just all on the heels of you know, the biggest scam in the world, right? So, I mean, and it's just part of it. It is. I mean, there have been, I know this in the U.S. too, there have been a lot of cattle that have died and chickens and things like that. Same here, you know, and I mean, I don't know how they're dying. I don't believe they're
mysterious
dying.
fires.
Huh?
Mysterious fires. That's what they're telling people.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, so the cost of meat has gone way up here too. We don't really like to eat much meat here anyway. Chicken's okay, but as far as the vegetables go and just the food supply, it's, you know, the prices have got skyrocketed. But basically that's what's happening here, is just that the farmers are protesting because they're not allowing them to do their job. They're not allowing them to feed the country, you know, and
have they planted their fields at all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they have. They definitely have. And we haven't had any like really bad weather that, you know, is going to kill them or anything like that, you know, the crops. But I mean, you should just Google it. You know, it's kind of funny because, I mean, I live here and I didn't even know until I watched the Rubin Report, which comes from the United States, you know, as much as, you know, as I know now about it. So, but it's like, I told my husband, it's just like one thing after another. And it's like, it's the Great Reset. I mean, you know, Klaus Schwab says it. That's what his book, you know, somebody posted a video on YouTube. She's in Europe somewhere. I'm not sure where, but somebody had put a sticker on a gas pump, and it was a picture of Klaus Schwab behind bars, and it said, "Arrest Klaus Schwab for crimes against humanity."
Whoa.
Who is he? He's the founder of the World Economic Forum. What is the World Economic Forum? You know, it's like, who are these people that are telling our presidents and our prime ministers what to do?
He has a lot of pull, and he's hand in hand with Gates as well. So, Schwab and Gates. Yeah.
So, and apparently Mark Rutte, our prime minister here too.
Oh,
you know?
Wow.
So, yeah, it's just a crazy world. It is a crazy world we live in right now, you know. So
well, I know here in America, our farmers, depending on where they're at, but a lot of them are struggling because the heat and no rain down in the south, like in Texas, our Texas farmers are really struggling. And then up north, it rained and it was wet for so long they couldn't get all the crops in the ground on time. So, and then the thing with the cattle, I watched that, and the young man who explained it worked on a cattle farm, so it made sense. But I question the heat, though, so I still think that there's nefarious issues at play. But yeah, but he said that every year they do lose a certain percentage, like 3% of cattle. They just die for whatever reason, but not normally like this. But he said what happens is, and I've watched other farming videos as well that deal with cows, and they said the same thing. Cows do not and cannot withstand high temperatures. So when even though these cattle are used to being outside, we're in the middle of this ridiculous heat wave here in America. And even back then, so they were in this like 100+ degree temperature all day, and how their bodies then need the nighttime to cool down so they can stay alive. Well, then this heat bomb flew through in the middle of the night and raised the temperatures from like 70 or whatever, that back up to over 100. So they were basically days with 100 degree, and their bodies couldn't deal with it. So all of them just died.
Wow.
But
okay.
What's causing that heat bomb? What's happening here is not normal.
Yeah, I know. I worry about our chickens too. Like we have, these girls. They, my husband set up a sprinkler system in their run, so underneath their coop. So what's supposed to happen is that this little nice sprinkler sprays this, nice cool mist of water for them. No. Apparently they decided to dig the undiggable, and somehow because it's under the coop so I can't see, but somehow they either got the sprinkler head off or they somehow undid the piping. I don't know. These girls, they're like mega diggers. I have no idea what they do. But so I turn on their hose to try to give them some cool water to go. All I see is like this flood underneath their coop, and I'm like, it's so hard because chickens, they're so much easier to keep alive in winter than they are during the summer. Like our girls, I'll see them panting, and I hate it because there's really not too much you can do for them. You know, and so it's because
I just saw it the other day. We live like in a cul-de-sac. It's like it's black, it's white and black spotted. It's really cute. It's like a big fat chicken with a red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so because ours are spoiled, so they get a heat lamp in the winter. So I mean, it's and then we built them like this chicken mansion, and we built it in winter. Don't ever build a chicken coop in winter. It's awful. But like, you know, we built them this great thing, and you know, but it's so hard because the heat is like, it's
really
so bad for them.
You guys are way up north in Colorado, right? So, but I mean, I've been in Denver before when it's been horribly hot.
Mm-hmm.
Like the grid went down, like because it was so hot. This back in the 90s. Yeah, it was horrible. But yeah, I mean, I'm not really familiar with like. Now I lived in Kansas. You know, I used to live in like Kansas City area. So I've lived in that area for a long time, and it gets really hot there. So
it's miserable outside. I can't even go out for 2 minutes. I went outside for 2 minutes yesterday just to be like, okay, I'm going to get some fresh air. Just kind of, I came back in. I was like so drained. I was like, this is a whole other level of heat. I don't know what this is.
Yes, it's supposed to get over 40 next week here. We don't have air conditioning. Nobody has air conditioning here. It's like, I mean, we do have it in our bedroom. Thank goodness the people that built this house put the little unit in the bedroom, which is, you know, it's not like having central air conditioning, but you know, it's okay at night. But I think my husband told me it's going to get over 40. I was like, what is that, John? He goes, that's over 100.
Yeah.
I was like, oh. It's going to get that hot here. Like, I didn't know that it could even get that hot here. So that's what's supposed to happen like Monday and Tuesday next week. So
yeah, and then too, I think it is, you know, and of course, whatever it is that is happening can be chalked up to global warming. There's our good friend global again, and you know, and with the shortages and
the thing that they, it's not CERN, it's the other one. You know, with all the towers where they say they control the weather.
HARP.
HARP. Yeah, it's probably HARP, huh? I mean,
that would be my guess.
Yeah, so there's no doubt they're doing it. I mean, I remember flying and looking down, and I was going over Nevada, and I have pictures of this, that I saw all of these mirrors everywhere. And I mean, you know, we're 40,000 feet in the air, so when I'm looking down and I see giant mirrors, I was like, what are these? Has to have something to do with that. They're like out in the mountains in Nevada. Yeah, maybe it's Area 51. I don't even know. You know what I mean? I don't know where, you know, flying over, but I just remember seeing the reflection, and I was like, is that like a fake sun? I mean, what is that? Why do they have all these mirrors out there? But I don't know. My mom told me a long time ago that she thought that the government was controlling the weather, and I actually laughed at her then. You know, that now I feel bad, but you know, I was like, oh, come on, Mom, you know. But she knew about all this stuff, HARP and everything like that.
Yeah, and they've talked about controlling the weather. It's been done since even the Vietnam War. They flooded all the fields using weather. So yeah,
right. Cloud seeding, right? Isn't that what they called it?
That's back then they called it cloud seeding.
But so we know, and you know, if they can control the weather, I mean, I don't believe in global warming at all. I mean, it's just all part of the scam, you know, and I see it happening now with the farmers and stuff, you know. It's, you know, green energy. Somebody posted something on Facebook the other day about how much energy it takes to make a battery for a Tesla. Just one battery for the car. I was like, oh, are you kidding me? I mean, it was unbelievable, you know, all of these emissions, fuels, you know, everything for one battery. So, and, you know, my husband has a good question about it. He's, what are they going to do with all these batteries? You know, where are they going to put them? You know, it's just a scam. It's all part of the Great Reset. And what do you think about the towers in Georgia, the Guidestones?
Oh. Can you believe that they just went in and tore them straight down? And it didn't even make the news here. It was just some blurb, again, just some small blurb.
Here's what I'm thinking on that. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking they don't need those up anymore. Whatever it is that was on there, it doesn't matter anymore. Because, I mean, let's be honest. They keep things up as long as they kind of need them to be up. And as soon as something's purpose is done away with, then that's done away with. And hopefully I don't get,
Well, and I don't think,
they've been up here since 80, right? 1980.
Yeah, 1980. Yeah. And I don't think that it was a bomb. You know why? Because that thing is under surveillance 24/7. They would have seen, and the person would have been arrested. I think they took like an RPG or something.
Like a laser.
My guess.
Yeah.
Yep. Laser too.
Yeah. Well, I wondered about the fires out in California. You know, those ones that like destroyed like Paradise and the cities out there. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind those had to have been lasers because, you know, there were like trees that were perfectly fine. And then you know what I mean? It was too pointed. It was too.
Well, and the way it moved, my friend, he and his wife, they lived in Paradise and they lost everything. But he said that he had never, and then they had a documentary on Netflix for a long time called Paradise. But he said he had never seen anything like that. He goes, they got up and then they got the notice, you have to evacuate. He said from the time they got the notice, they had just enough time to grab their cats and get out of the house. That's how fast this crap was moving. And he just said nobody. They're like, this is not even real. Apocalyptic is truly the only word that fit that scenario. And the way things were moving and these spot fires that were picking up, and some areas would burn, other areas would not. And it's like, but it destroyed the whole town.
And oh, go ahead.
I was going to say that town was one of the places that they wanted to reclaim, and they really didn't want people living there, and they'd been fighting to be able to stay and live in Paradise. And all of a sudden, the campfire takes off.
Yeah, I know. Such a. I want to say crazy, but it's. This world is just it's controlled. It's so controlled, you know. And I'm just trying to decide, like, you know, I mean. I hate to be gloom and doom, and my husband's like, you know, just let's not talk about it right now, you know, let's not be gloom and doom all the time, and I get that, but I feel like I'm faking it if I'm not talking about it or I'm not researching it or reading about it, then I'm, you know, it's like, yeah, we were warned. We've been warned. You know, the Bible, what a great book, right? You know, to give us all these heads up, you know. I was telling somebody the other day about, you know, reading the Bible. I said, you know, sometimes if you think about it in a scientific term, don't look at it as, oh, this is the book that's telling me what I can and can't do.
Right.
Look at it as God is telling us this stuff because it's happening and it's happened, and He's giving us a heads up. He's saying, look, you know, this is what's going to happen. This is why this is happening, you know, and look at it more scientifically, you know, instead of just, you know, it's the book that tells me what I can't do, or I'm going to go to hell if I do this, you know, because so many people look at it like that. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, you know, I don't want to read that book. It's going to tell me everything I do is going to make me go to hell. You know, it's like, you know, and I try to explain to people too, you know, God doesn't want you to go to hell, okay? And the reason that you need Jesus is because God can't be in the presence of sin, period, and we're all sinners. That's why He had to send Jesus, you know, because that's the only way to the Father is through Jesus, period. That's it. You know, and I'm not going to get off on a tangent. I know we've been on for a long time, so I don't want to, but maybe next time, definitely, you know, I'd love to talk more about that. But anyway, crazy world we live in, and my husband and I right now are trying to decide if we're going to stay here or go back to the States. You know, it's kind of a tough decision, you know. We've got residency here, so I hate to give that up.
And yeah, I mean, these are kind of hard to. I know my microphone is echoing. I don't know what's going on with that, but
program.
Yeah.
You know, not your microphone.
Yeah, just shortages, and I don't know.
How is that? like at the grocery store. We didn't even go into a grocery store when we were there. I was like, we went to Walgreens but CVS I think it was. But how are the shelves? I mean, is it really like as bad as people say it is?
It's selective. So I don't know. It's like you'll find something one time and then you won't find it the next, or like your brand options are very like limited, or I don't know.
That's the same here, always. Yeah. So,
Like,
but I mean, the shelves. I mean, you can still get vegetables. You can still buy, your food.
But prices are crazy.
You can.
You froze, Linz. So you want to start over? You froze.
Oh, I said prices are really bad though. Prices are horrible. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Well, and in like here, it's like one of the stores I frequent, besides a big chain store, well, during the height of everything, things were a little, here and there. And then just last week, I mean, it was huge difference. I'm talking major sections just missing. And I'm like, uh-oh, okay, because you just wait for the other shoe to drop. So I went yesterday, and then they had some of those places filled in, but not all of them. So I'm going to keep waiting and go back that, maybe they just were waiting on a truck. A truck was late. I don't know. But if I notice this pattern, if I notice that a pattern is starting to kick in where we have massive shelves just missing like the last time, I think I'll start to worry at that point. But right now, it's like, yeah, the food is ridiculously expensive. But at least we have something to choose from. We may not have 5 brands to choose from, but we still have 2. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, pretty much that's how it's always been here since we've been here. They just don't have the variety that they have in the U.S., with anything. Like we have like 3 types of like toilet paper. That's it. You can have soft or rough or cheap. It's small rolls, whatever. But as far as like, our shelves are still stocked. I do notice a little bit like in the vegetable sections and things like that, but that's obviously probably because of the farmers. What they've been dealing with. But yeah, I wish we would have went into a grocery store when we were there. We just didn't, you know what I mean? So I'm like, oh my gosh. Now when I was there before in February, I went to Target and they had like a grocery store in there. But I don't remember it being like really bad at that point in time. And when you say prices are high, like, with everything like milk, eggs, all that stuff, it's like way higher than it was. Hamburger meat, like what do you pay for that? How much is that per pound or...
I don't eat meat, so I don't know what it costs. But like eggs and stuff, I will tell you because like I used to be able to buy the high end eggs that were like $2.50, $3. Okay. You're like, okay, so that's what you just pay. Well, now those high end eggs are $6. So I have to go down to the lower end because the low end eggs are now $2.50. That used to be like $1.20. They're now $2.50 to $3.
You get your eggs from your chickens?
Yeah, well, okay, I'm sure people are going to get mad at me because they're kind of a waste. I mean, maybe we can give them to neighbors or something, but I actually don't use our chickens' eggs. Now, granted, of course, if stuff really hit the fan, we would, do that, or supply our neighbors or something like that. I mean, we really don't even get that many eggs anyway because we only have 2 layers. So my other 2 are backyard moochers who get to just live out their chickie days in luxury, So that's just, so we don't really get that many anyway because my son has a food intolerance to eggs.
Oh, okay.
And so he doesn't have an allergic reaction, but it makes him physically sick.
Right. Okay.
So it took a while to finally like kind of narrow some of it down because I was just like, what is going on with this boy? And then I was like, okay, well, he did have eggs, and then I would note, like, okay, every single time he had this certain food.
Allergy rate, I think, eggs do. When someone's allergic to eggs, it's not a good thing.
Yeah, and it wasn't. So I was just like, I hate raw eggs anyway. Like, I I don't know, they freak me out and stuff. So I really don't even deal with. I'll collect them, but I'm wearing gloves, and so like.
I love eggs. I just love eggs.
No, I was just thinking I'm gonna get a couple of chickens if I go back and I'll just get their eggs from them. Because I hear they lay an egg a day. I didn't know that. I just heard that the other day, that chickens lay 1 egg a day. I was like, oh my gosh, those poor things. It must not feel like having a baby then, because
you can hear them too. Like they announced it. Like it's like, you know, they'll actually announce when they lay an egg, and I'll just hear this like squawking, and I'm like, I guess someone just laid an egg, you know.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
They're so funny. I love them, and they're high and low maintenance. So I mean, it's kind of like your biggest things are keeping up on their food and their bedding and, you know, water. I mean, it's kind of, but then at the same time, really, they just are outside doing their own thing 90% of the time. So, you know, it's just
really smart. Chickens are really smart. So I've heard a lot of really cool things about chickens. It makes me not want to eat chicken.
Yeah. Did you know that not only do they know their own name, but they know all the names in the flock?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So, and then it's so funny because, like, ours are so spoiled that it's funny because if I go, ladies, they all come running to me because they know that I have something for them, and they know once a week is their treat day. And so I'll lay out all their seeds and their worms, and they will actually get so happy about their worm. They're dead worms, of course, but like the mealworms. Yeah, they'll get so happy they will actually squawk in excitement, and like they just sit there and they just squawk and, you know, do like almost like a happy dance. So they're so they're such cool animals.
You don't eat chicken, do you?
Mm-mm. Even when I ate meat, we did not eat our own. So I remember like coming home with like some chicken strips or chicken nuggets and like hiding the bag, like I don't have anything.
I watched a show on Netflix, a lady that became a vegan or vegetarian, and it was she had a chicken, and that's why, you know, because she fell in love with her chicken and it was her pet, and I mean, so I've been there. I've been a vegan. I've been a vegetarian. I've gone back and forth with it because I love animals. It's very hard for me, but it's really hard for me to not eat meat. So.
Well, here's the thing too that people don't understand. So I'm even I've had a debate with somebody too, and a couple people actually, and they're like, well, you know, for survival you need meat. First of all, no, you don't. There's plenty of plants that you can eat. Of course, you need to know what you're eating. Okay, do not go out in the wilderness and just pick something because it could be the last thing, you know, that you put in your mouth. But yeah. So don't go just eating anything. Like, okay, not everything's edible, but think about it on this level too. Animals are better alive too. They help you more. They're better for you alive than they are dead. In every instance.
I agree with you.
Because
I agree.
And at the very least, they're a morale booster. Okay, so if everything's going to pot and you have, you know, everything's just bad or whatever, it's at least a morale booster. I mean, you see that deer in the woods, okay, you're lost in the woods, and you see that deer, yeah, you could kill it and eat it, okay, but, like, but it's a morale booster. It's an energy booster. It would give you some kind of hope.
On Facebook the other day, they said, how old were you when you shot your first deer? Or what did you shoot your first deer with? And I said, my Canon T3i. Yeah, I'm not going to shoot an animal. I can't do it. I know. I let somebody else do it for me. No, I know. I've gone back and forth. I mean, I've watched PETA films. You know what I mean? It's like, so I do get it. I do. I felt like when I stopped eating meat, I was only eating fish. So, I mean, I've gone all the way where I didn't eat any meat at all, even fish. And then, and I've been a vegan where I didn't eat eggs or cheese or anything. But then I felt like I wasn't as healthy. I felt like I was missing something in my diet. My hair wasn't as healthy and things like that. And then I just kind of gradually went back. And so I started eating fish, and then I started adding, a little bit of chicken here and there. But I know if I had a chicken, I couldn't eat chicken. I can't eat dog. And I got my dog, right? They do in China, my husband was in China, and he was at the buffet bar, and he saw this gray meat there, and it's kind of sliced up. Yeah, and he asked the lady what it was. She says, dog, very good dog. And he's like, no. He ate nothing but rice when he was there. Like, he couldn't eat anything but, like, a salad and rice. That was it. He was in China for, like, a week. He couldn't eat anything after that. He was, like, terrified. I know, because they eat dogs, So, I've heard some amazing things about chicken, so.
Yeah, and you think about it, too, like, especially your supplying animals, like your chickens and your cows and even your roosters. A lot of people, they consider their roosters, oh, it's meaningless, I'm going to go make a stew. Well, okay, but then that rooster helps you make more babies, which makes more hens, which makes more eggs, your cows, your cows produce your milk and your cheese and your butter and your everything. So you could get a meal or two out of that animal. But if you continue to keep that animal alive, not only do you have a morale booster and some support and some happiness just because they're freaking cute, but you also have that constant supply of your eggs, your milk, your cheese, and even if you had sheep, you don't have to kill them. You shear them. You can make sweaters. Okay, so yet again, these animals are constantly supplying us. And I found, too, because even I'm guilty of this as a vegetarian, we can get all of our sources from vegetarian sources. Our protein, we can get our iron, we can get all of these things. But what I'm guilty of is we limit ourselves. So when we tend to go vegetarian, we tend to be very restrictive and very and I'm just speaking for myself personally. So I eat a lot of and I know they're not good for you, but the processed fake meats, right? So I do eat those, but I limit myself, right? So
tofu, like the stuff that's made out of tofu.
Yeah, or it's some of it is soy-free still, but like your non-GMO soy-based products, things like that. So
they have that corn, that QUORN stuff.
I used to eat that stuff all the time. I loved it. Guess what? They grow their stuff in mold. It's grown in mold. And when I found that out, I was so mad because that was my go-to source for the fake meat.
I knew it was like egg white they used, but I didn't know that they grew it in mold.
Yeah. Well, my daughter, she took a culinary class, and her chef was the one who mentioned it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know. They sell that here, too. So, and I actually think I have some in my freezer right now, the chicken ones.
I was so mad. That was the stuff. I was so mad. In a little bit, okay?
Oh, he's got his party.
Yeah, he should be at his party.
What time is it there? Is it 12 there?
Yeah, it's 12 here.
8.
Yeah, his party starts at 1.
I thought it started at 12. Oh, sorry, I got the time wrong.
I think he said he had to. He needed to leave. I was going to show you guys a picture of what was in my backyard right before I came out here. I can.
And I got really disappointed.
Oh wow, they're spraying like crazy.
It's sigils. It looked like a pentagram to me. I could see the star formation in it when it was starting to go away. It was cause obviously I see it outside above our house all the time, or a big X. I have tons of pictures of the chemtrails.
And almost like a square and compass, too.
Oh, yeah. It did kind of look like that, huh? Oh, my gosh.
Oh, I'm sure that's an accident.
That's what I'm saying. It's not an accident. I know that. I'm like, no, there is no doubt that was on purpose. Yeah, I went out there to try to get my dogs. I threw a ball for them for a little while before I came out just to try to get them calmed down. With 3 Pomeranians, and they're just hyper and crazy dogs. But I walked out there and I was like, oh, yeah, insane. insane. They spray a lot. I always notice they spray before the full moon too. It seems like, I know we don't have full moon coming up, as we just had one, but it seems like they spray super heavy before a full moon, and I can't figure out why. I don't know. I'm trying to figure that one out.
Something to look into, though.
It is definitely something to look into, and I want you guys to look this girl up on YouTube and or guys, whatever it is. Another one that I like to watch on YouTube is Divergent. Have you? That's just the one word. So it's I can email the three of them to you that I told you about. The Good Fight Ministries. They do the videos on the rock and roll. They sold their souls for rock and roll, and then Divergent, which he's funny. You'll like him. He's in Spain. And he goes out to the beach all the time, and he's like, "Oh yes, we live on a spinning ball. Look at the spinning ball." You know, he's like he's sarcastic, but he's funny. But he always has really good videos. He does a lot of videos on the Titans, giants too. So, but he does tons of them on the flat Earth, and then Vibes of the Cosmos. That's the Brainiac one. Super.
So would you be up to, well, not today, but the next time, would you be up to doing another flat Earth video? Because it's just a topic that's just so fascinating.
Yes. Yeah, I brought all my books in here and everything because I have all these flat Earth books that,
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, and I'm not a big sit down, read it page to page books, but this is a really, really good book. This is where the Book of Enoch, he pretty much deciphers the whole Book of Enoch with that. And then I've got, the Flat Earth News, which is just a kind of cute one. This is probably the best one of all, though.
Wow.
So, I mean, it is just the greatest.
What's that one called? What's the title?
The Greatest Lie on Earth. Proof that our world is not a moving globe. Edward Hendry. So, The Greatest Lie on Earth. Yeah, it is a big book, but boy, there's so much in it, and there's so much math in it.
Yeah.
Which when you start, and this one too is a good one. And
I've heard of that one.
They're all good. They just all have something. And then there's another book that I actually downloaded on my phone. You can get it for free. I can't think of the name of it. There's 16 emergency landings.
Yes.
That prove Earth is not a globe. Like when they were flying from China somewhere to Thailand or something, and they had to land in Alaska.
Yeah, it was. That's what convinced me, because I was doing a lot of research and I was laughing at a lot of stuff and then going, well, okay, maybe they got that point, but you guys are still stupid. I was literally writing these comments to these people. And then when I saw that and I heard about it on the news, and I'm like, well, they were heading to LA. They're going straight across the ocean. Why are they in Alaska? So I looked at that map and then I watched that video and I'm like, it is flat. That was what convinced me.
There was a guy that you can still find it. He was videotaping with his phone, and he says, "We're in Alaska. I don't know why we're in Alaska, but we're in Alaska."
Yeah.
She's having her baby, and I'm like, but this guy put this together, and he was not a flat earther before he started doing this research, and so he wrote a book, and I'll find the title of it, and then I just think it's 16 landings that prove Earth
16 emergency landings or something like that. Yeah, but I know what you're talking about. 16 emergency landings that prove flat Earth, I think, is the title. Yeah.
16 emergency landings that.
Yes, that's it. That prove flat Earth.
Flat Earth. Yeah. And when you start reading them and you find out, it's obvious. There's no, and then you take a flat Earth map, I don't know how accurate they are, but I have a couple of them, and this one right here too, I think I have this map, but when you look at it and you're like, oh yeah, okay, I've spent a lot of time in airplanes. I know, I know you don't go from China to LA and land in Alaska to have a baby.
Right. And with also, I used to, when I was younger, I did a lot of driving, and I mean across country driving, state driving. I did a ton of driving in that car, and I would always go, something's not right. This is not right. What they're telling us the shape is, it never matched the way we were driving. And then when I saw the flat, I'm like, okay, now it all makes, again, it all fell into place. It's like,
It's amazing, and that's why I like the Vibes of Cosmos so much, because on her channel, she shows you these maps, and she takes the land masses that we know as America and Europe and Australia, and she shows you where they are on the moon. It's crazy, and it makes so much sense. And all of the things that look like craters on the moon, just go and Google oceans, like just aerial views of all the oceans, okay? You know, the Pacific, the Atlantic. You can see all those big circles.
Oh, I'll have to look into that. Okay.
Yeah, pretty fascinating, really is. And I started digging around, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's right. It is a reflection of the Earth, and that whole part that we can't get to, she calls it Hyperborea, but there are there's a bunch of landmass we can't go to. You know,
which is why they close off Antarctica.
Right, and they're going over there.
Yep.
That's why Jeff Bezos has his giant yacht still stuck here. They're not tearing that bridge down for his yacht. I was so glad about that. You know that, right? About his giant yacht he just had here. It's stuck in that town, and they refuse to.
Good.
Bridge. They're not going to tear. That bridge hasn't been torn down since it was built. You know, it's like 200 years old or something. They're not going to do it. You know, for him.
He can just back that stupid boat out of there.
Oh, it's been egged. It's been, oh my gosh. Well, it's in a canal. You know, and it's actually kind of funny. It really is. Yeah, they're going to have to disassemble his boat to get it out.
Why doesn't he just get it towed? He's rich enough. Tow that sucker out.
They don't have anywhere to go with it. They can't get. They built it, and then they're bringing it down the canal out to the ocean. But they have to get. It won't go under the bridge.
So instead of building it on the other side of the bridge, they built it. Wow. Oh, so it was built there. It wasn't.
It was built there, right? And they built it. It's too tall. It's too big. It won't fit under the bridge.
He's an idiot. Tell him to disassemble half that stupid boat and put it under the bridge and then fix it. Jeez.
That's big news here. That's big news. And everybody thinks it's hilarious. They do. They think it's hilarious. So the Dutch people are really awesome. They really are. They don't care about the money. They're like, whatever, you know, we don't care. No, we're not tearing our bridge down. It's going to make it unstable. We're not
good for them.
So, oh my goodness.
Well, anyway, it's getting hot here, Lindsay, so I'm going to log off so I can close everything. Because when my air conditioner's on, it's so loud I can't hear anybody.
Oh my gosh, so you've been suffering. Okay, I'm sorry. Well, it's morning there at least, right? 8 noon. So. But yes, absolutely would love to, and I promise I will definitely check my mail like every day. But also, you have WhatsApp on your phone. You know that. Let me see.
On there, if I have room on my phone. I have about 10,000 baby pictures on my phone, so my storage.
Yeah, I don't do WhatsApp.
Okay, I know it's the big thing here. I have Signal, and I have Messenger too. I have Facebook. You know, so, but I don't want to miss another email. I felt really bad. I did. I was like, oh my gosh, especially after everything I told you about my spiritual attack and stuff.
I was like, she's worried about me. Like, I'm starting to worry. I was like, she never not messages me back.
I'm so sorry. I am. And it's
you're right.
I get all my notifications for stupid emails. You know what I mean? Like the emails that or the spam. But I never saw that one. I never saw it. Yeah, I mean.
Well, you said you were under spiritual attack. I just think it's all part of it.
Mm-hmm. You know what? You're probably right. I think that's probably right because it's thank God. Seriously, I prayed so hard, and I had people praying for me everywhere, and I know that He delivered me. Yes, thank God, really, because it is horrible to deal with that. It's a horrible thing to deal with, and so.
Yeah, I'm dealing with a lot of stuff with my daughter too, and
are you?
She just turned 18.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
It's so rough, it's so hard, and then on top of that, I'm going through this weird, okay, she hasn't left home yet, but I'm going through this horrible empty nest / I'm sad I can't have any more babies / it was never in the plan to have more babies because this last baby definitely wasn't in the plan, you know. And so
18 and a new baby, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like this huge jerk mix of hormones, and then you get people on YouTube, you know, which I didn't know. I'm telling you, they make the most ridiculous things that they just irk you, right? Like just yeah. Like okay, this person, I wrote a comment probably months ago now, and it was on this how dinosaurs never existed thing. But anyways, it's really fascinating. It's Eric Dubay, and so it's really fascinating, and I loved his video. But you know, because he mentioned how it physically wouldn't be possible for dinosaurs to mate, so you
video,
can, yeah. So in other words, and so I was like, you know, so I just wrote a comment, and I was like, okay, so I'm pretty sure the argument would be, well, they just laid the eggs, and then the male would come over and fertilize, and you know, and that's how it would work. But I said, but I looked it up. The only way an egg can be fertilized outside of the female body is in water. So that's kind of why only salmon, so that's why salmon can do it, because you have that water source to carry the sperm to the egg.
And it's a different type of egg, too, the different outer covering.
Right. So, but when you're dealing, you know, and so I just wrote that, right? Well, then this person wrote, what are you talking, or what about birds? What are you talking about, LOL, like to mock me. And I'm just like, birds mate tradition. I was like, yeah, I was like, they mate traditionally. The sperm travels to the egg is fertilized, but the female lays the egg, but it has to stay warm in order for the embryo to grow inside the egg. I was like, so that's why they're laid on. I was like, that's why if you don't have a rooster with your hens, they lay edible eggs because there's nothing to fertilize. Same goes if you keep the rooster fenced off from the hens, like there's no way they can mate through the fence or something, right? And you take their laid egg and you were to put it over in the rooster could sit on it all day long, but it's never going to get fertilized because that fertilization has to take place within the body first, then the egg is laid. So it's like in all directions. And on top of that, we're talking about reptiles, not birds. Yeah, not their whole evolutionary thing, you know. And I'm just like, it's amazing to me. I'm like, really, you're trying to make me feel stupid, but do people even research anything anymore? Like, I mean, that's my question. Does anybody look at anything anymore?
Look at the last video we did. That guy who was really nasty, you know.
I'm going to love it. I'm going to love it. If to this nice gentleman, what is your term for us this time? Because last time we were delusional witches.
I blocked him, I think I did. Yeah,
you know what he did? You know what? Somehow he did. I blocked him from the first time because he came on a video me and my mom did, and I blocked him. YouTube, somehow he got access to our video, shared our video, called us all delusional witches, and I was like, and so I blocked him again. How is it that if I block somebody, that they can still gain access and share my video?
Because that's how they do it. I block people all the time, and I can still see what they do, but I can't it's like you can't comment and you can't see their name when they're on your stuff, but you can see like if they put up videos. So they can come and see our videos, but they can't comment. They can't. We won't know when they're there. They can't visit the chat room because they're not allowed. They're invisible.
No. Like, I look forward to what we're going to be called next. So like it just
bring it. Used to it. Bring it. Yeah, I got to go. It's really hot.
So okay, you guys, it was really good to talk to you.
You too.
Yes, let's plan it again. Okay.
All right. Bye. Email me with your info too, so we can all get.
I will. I'll email you right now.
Awesome. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thanks, Lindsay. Great show.
Thank you. Bye.